I'm trying to get work done, and I have a guest here. Say hi. Oh, thankfully, she's not very obtrusive to my work, so the horrors shall continue. We shall continue the reviews of the horrors.
Courage the Cowardly Dog. This was a very, very large part of my childhood and kind of what started a lot of my horror love, particularly for animated series. Courage the Cowardly Dog is an animated television series that ran on Cartoon Network, created by John R. Dilworth. It ran from about November 1999 to about November 2002. It officially had a total of 52 episodes, or about 4 seasons. Courage is a dog, and he is the protagonist of the series. He lives with two people, Muriel and Eustace, and they live in Kansas in the middle of nowhere. And essentially, it is just Muriel and Eustace being completely unaware of their surroundings and having zero common sense as to, keeping themselves safe, keeping Courage safe. So Courage is oftentimes having to clean up the messes that they make and create. Um, a lot of it usually is based around the fact that they invite anyone into their home and just allow them to stay there and sleep there. And then a lot of other issues typically ensue from that. So again, it's just Courage just trying to clean up the messes that Muriel and Eustace have made. At the end of the day, Courage, despite being extraordinarily scared, it's really about his journey trying to have the courage to do something and to fix whatever is the issue that's at hand. Again, typically it's going to be Muriel and Eustace just up to no good, and then Courage attempting to fix it. We're going to start off with season 1, episode 7. This one is King Ramses. This was a really odd one. I always remember being really, really strange, but also extraordinarily funny. I had a great time rewatching it.
Return the slab. What? Return the slab, or suffer my curse.
What's your offer?
This night you will be visited by 3 plagues, each worse than the last. Return the slab.
Next up, we have season 4, episode 7. This one is The Mask. This one was really, really weird and kind of creepy for a lot of different reasons. You'll see my expression here with my face.
Oh?
Oh, play with your new friend. That's glad. Pleased to meet you. Courage doesn't make many friends.
It's really, really creepy. Essentially, it follows that of a woman named Kitty who is wearing a mask for some reason. I'm not sure why she's wearing a mask. Nobody here knows who she is, but she's wearing a mask. She mentions that she's from the bad part of town, and she comes up, the very first thing that she does when she comes up to Courage, who's minding his own business, mind you, he's minding his own business. She comes up to him and just starts beating the shit out of him for no reason. And then Muriel's like, "Oh, I guess you made a friend." Like, she did nothing to help the situation. She didn't say, "Oh, why would you hit my dog?" Nothing like that. Nothing. So Courage got no type of protection, anything like that. And then Muriel's going to say, "Oh, well, you can go ahead and stay the night." So now she invited this crazy woman that she has no idea who she is, and she's just at the dinner table eating dinner with everyone else. She flips out once Eustace says something nasty towards her.
Take that mask off, you might see better.
Dogs are evil. Let's not mention the mask.
Mask if I want.
Starts throwing shit all over the dining room table and then just leaves and goes up to her bedroom. And it's like there were no red flags at all that were noticed by anyone except for Courage, of course. That this is Kitty. She is a woman who essentially had a best friend named Bunny, and they are best friends. And she then started to date a guy named Mad Dog, and he's in a gang. And they, I guess, when Bunny and Mad Dog started their relationship, Mad Dog got very jealous about Bunny and Kitty being friends. And so he essentially said that Kitty was not allowed to talk to Bunny anymore. And the story basically continued on that from that particular point. Because Mad Dog is a dog, she essentially puts all males and dogs in the same category of not good, not worth anything, sort of very, very second class kind of um, opinion about that particular category of people. Um, Obviously, this is out of trauma, but even still, she continues to beat pretty much, Courage, and she's taking shots at Eustace as well. She's not nice. She's not nice at all. Pretty much, you don't really feel bad for her. Who you feel most bad for is really Bunny, because Bunny has been attempting to try to leave several times and she keeps getting manipulated, or Mad Dog sends his dogs to go get her or chase after her, or she gets hit. It's actually really, really intense episode of domestic abuse really going on there. But Courage does what he does, and he tries to go grab Bunny to try and get her to safety. And from that, we find out, of course, he's keeping her hostage. Through a series of attempts to get her out, he finally does get her out, and they are then able to run away together. Now, the one thing that is worth noting that I didn't quite pick up on as a child, similar to Sailor Moon, um, Bunny and Kitty are definitely lovers. I think that's very clear. They're lovers. They are. No doubt about it. And Mad Dog was trying to keep them apart. He knew what was going on. He knew. So that was one thing that I was able to kind of realize when I saw the episode. Like, oh, okay, that explains why he's pissed off and why he doesn't want them hanging around together, because they're definitely lovers for sure. But they run off into the sunset together, and Kitty basically realizes that not all men are bad and not all dogs are horrible. And I mean, she doesn't really apologize to Courage for smacking him up and beating him up and stuff, but she does seem to come out of it with a better perspective, I suppose. Um, the This episode as an adult reminded me of that song, the one about the black eyed peas and the two friends, and then one lady's getting beat and then she poisons the black eyed peas so that, I forgot the name of that song. I'll put the song in here so that way I can have it overplaying. You guys Season 4, episode 13, parts A and B. So the first part A, is the remembrance of Courage. So this is the official understanding of Courage's background, where he actually came from and what happened to cause him to be in the situation and in the house with Muriel and Eustace. We find out that he did come from a loving family, a mother and a father, and they went to the doctors or the vet to take him to get checked because he was a baby. And it turns out the vet had very, very, very horrible motives of taking dogs and just taking them. And then we find out it's some kind of odd experiment to see if they can survive on the moon, which, if you guys know, there is actually a situation in which this was a thing, that a dog was sent to the moon. They gave him a little bit of food and then sent him to the moon to see what would happen, to see if there was other life somewhere else. It was really, really messed up. So that was immediately what this episode actually reminded me of. But all these dogs are getting sent basically to the moon, and then that's that. You don't see them ever again. So Courage is remembering all this due to the fact that there's like a missing photo on the side of a milk crate. So he's looking at that and seeing, kind of remembering everything that happened. He was able to escape, but unfortunately, his parents were shot up in the rocket to the moon, and Muriel picked them up off the street, and that's how he came to live with Muriel and Eustace. Throughout this, Muriel and Eustace, of course, think that something is wrong with Courage because he's remembering this information, and it is obviously very traumatizing. So they decide to take him to the vet. Turns out this vet is the same exact guy who did the experiments earlier before. He's still running these experiments. So he's trying to take Courage again by saying, "Oh, well, I just need a moment with him." Like, no, that's creepy. Like, this guy just seems in need a moment, and then your dog never comes back. Someone should have reported this guy like a really long time ago. And also, I'm confused. How has no one reported this man for having a spaceship just launching out of his practice? This seems like a lawsuit. This is a heavy, heavy lawsuit area. So I don't understand what's going on here. But yeah, so he's trying to launch Courage up into space again, but then Muriel and Eustace see what's going on. They're like, "Stop that. No, that's our dog, blah, blah, blah." And then he's about to put them in there too so that they can all go to space. But Courage, as he usually does, tried to fix the issue, and he winds up sending the vet to the moon instead. And that's where we see confirmation that they are still living. All the dogs, they're all still living. Well, actually, we don't know. Actually, to be honest, we don't know. We don't know if they're still living. We just know that in the end, we do see the vet getting his comeuppings and them kind of tearing him apart. And I guess, they kill him. But it could also relatively be a situation in which they are all deceased anyway, and they never really made it to the moon, and this is just them in the afterlife, and he gets his upcomings in the afterlife. It's not clear one way or another, but regardless, he gets his comeuppings, and it is actually a really great moment. But it is still sad to some degree because you do see um, Courage's mom and dad there, and that's he's never going to see them again, and that is unfortunate, kind of sad. So I found that one to be really, really like odd in terms of the medical malpractice that's occurring and clear OSHA violations as well. But the fact that, again, it's also really incredibly sad because the family that truly is his family, he's never going to see again. Our last episode we're going to talk about for today is going to be Perfect. This is the same episode, episode 13 of season 4. This is part B. Perfect. Perfect. This was an interesting episode. When I was younger, it did freak me out a bit, and I think now as an adult I do understand why it did mess me up a little bit. This episode essentially deals with Courage creating a complex, and the complex starts to overtake his mind and tell him that he needs to be perfect because Eustace is once again yelling at him about any and everything, as he always is. So Courage decides he needs to start being perfect, and his mind creates a complex that essentially is trying to whip him into shape. For anyone growing up, this is very clearly a very psychological episode that you could probably um, uh, understand on some level. And he was basically putting himself through the ringer to try and be perfect. But, but, the ending of the episode, the fish who, is essentially the narrator throughout the entire series, the fish tells him, like, no, you're not perfect, but that's okay. You don't need to be. And it just turns into like the sweetest episode. Not only the sweetest episode, but the sweetest finale. This is the final episode. And it essentially tells Courage it's okay to not be perfect. Being not perfect is fun. It's what makes family family. And you see them, him, Muriel, and Eustace sitting around the table and enjoying a meal together. And they're all just being completely crazy because they are. They're all crazy. They're all imperfect, but they are a family. And that's kind of what counts at the end of the day. So I thought it was just the sweetest final episode. Just for many reasons. And again, I can see why I was really freaked out about as a kid, but now that I'm an adult and I've gotten over that complex of being perfect, I found this episode to just be entirely sweet. So I'm glad that I got to watch it one more time.
And you go for the rest of your life. Everyone will know that you're imperfect. You have to go to the bathroom? Mm-hmm. Make it quick. While you're there, practice brushing your teeth. Do it perfectly.
There's no such thing as perfect. You're beautiful as you are, Courage. With all your imperfections, you can do anything.
Would you like to try some baklava, Courage? It's more like gum, really. But you
That's all I have for you guys today. Thanks so much for tuning in to my little channel. This is Fantastic Static, Nelly Hill, and I can't wait to see you again. Bye.